again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Alumni Chats, a weekly podcast featuring alumni from the Department of Broadcasting and Journalism here at Western Illinois University. My name is Buzz Hoon. I'm the host of the podcast. Today, I'm talking with Emily Manley Feiner from the class of 2017. Emily, it's so good to see you. And I just stuck that in because in my mind, you'll always be Emily Manley, even though you are now Emily Feiner.
Yeah, no, on TV, I'm still Emily Manley. So sometimes I forget my own name change. I sometimes forget that I have a different name now because every single day I say Emily Manley. So I forget, and I don't know how Adam feels about that. But
well, he gets to have you at home at the end of the day.
That's true. That is true.
That is good. We're going to talk all about it. Won't you give everybody a life update before we go into the life story of Emily Feiner?
Yeah. Okay. Life story. I'll give you the elevator pitch really quick.
Yep.
So started at Western in 2013, graduated 2017. Then from there went to grad school, actually, at the University of Illinois Springfield. They offer a 9-month program known as the Public Affairs Reporting Program. Was there for a year, spent time at a station in Springfield, Illinois. Then from there, went down to Southern Illinois, and that market covers Southern Illinois, Kentucky, a piece of Tennessee, and Missouri. Was there for a little over a year. And then after that, came back to Western. The good Lord kind of shut one door, opened one door, all in a matter of like 24 hours for me. And was at Western for a year. Sadly, I didn't get to finish the full year like I thought I was going to, because that's when we hit COVID in that March. Then that summer, I guess it was that spring when COVID started evolving and we figured out what this virus was, I got an offer from a St. Louis station, and that's where I've been now. I just celebrated 2 years last week, and I've been the political reporter. My title is really long. It's the Missouri Chief Capitol Bureau Reporter, and that's for 8 television stations. So I'm centered here in Jefferson City, Missouri, that is. And I work for 8 television stations. I'm out here by myself, which might sound a little scary, but definitely enjoy it and take care of my own live shots, shoot my own stories, edit my own stories. And I'm kind of the one-man band out here in Jefferson City. So that's where it's been since I've graduated in 2017.
Just a few things.
Just a couple things.
Well, let's rewind the clock. Let's go all the way back. You are from Highland, I believe. Is that right? The St. Louis area? That
is correct. About roughly 25 minutes east of downtown St. Louis, right off the interstate.
Okay. So what was life growing up like? Because I know you have a sister, you have wonderful friends and family from that area. What did you like to do? What was like, for instance, growing up before we got to high school?
Oh, let's see. My biggest thing back then was sports. Played lots of sports, whether it was basketball or golf or softball. Even in high school, I played soccer, and big sports person. And then the other kind of funny part of that is I was a piano player, played piano from the time I was in kindergarten, still play to this day. I feel like I'm not as good to this day. I don't have a piano in my house. So when I go back to visit my mom, sometimes I sit down at the piano, but definitely very family oriented. You actually know some of my family. I'm very lucky to have my aunt and uncle live in Macomb. My aunt went to Western and then never left Macomb. So your daughter obviously went to school with my cousin. Yeah. So you do know some of my family before I even came into Western, but definitely a big family oriented family. We get together every Sunday. Most of us do, for family dinner. That has gone on since I've been little. Sports have been a huge thing, and my family loves to travel. It's not uncommon for my mom to say, hey, guess what? We're going to go there next month. That was never uncommon when I was little. So definitely love to be outside, still love to be outside to this day. And out of all the sports that I played growing up, the only one that I still kind of do, and I don't even know if I do it well anymore, is golf. Every once in a while I'll get out and golf, but no, big Cardinal fan, big Blues fan. Grew up in, like I said, Highland, which is not far from St. Louis. Went to lots of Cardinal games, lots of Blues games. I don't talk about the Rams. That's a sore subject.
They betrayed us.
We don't talk about the Rams. It is what it is. I feel like now that I live in mid-Missouri, I'm a little bit more of a Chiefs fan, but trying to think of anything else as a child that I enjoyed,
I think it's interesting you mentioned the travel part with your family, because a lot of families, that's a stress point, rather than a celebration point. Sometimes families don't travel well together.
Yeah, no, somehow we managed to work it out. I would say my mom and I are definitely she's definitely my best travel companion. Even though I'm married to Adam now, definitely my mom is still my best travel companion. We have it down to a T, so it works out really well.
That's excellent. You mentioned that sports were an important part. I'm sure within high school, when I met you, you were very focused on your sports.
I wanted sports broadcasting.
Yeah, you want, and that was, we had the sports broadcasting program, and did you have a feeling that that's where you wanted to be in some sort of communication part?
Yeah, actually, I'll take you back even a little step further. It was in fourth grade where I wanted to be a meteorologist. My fourth grade teacher talked about, we took a meteorology little section, I guess, in fourth grade. And we talked about the clouds and the precipitation. And I thought that was really cool. And I've always been a news geek. My mom and dad would laugh at me that I always wanted to watch the news at night, even as a kid. But I never thought about going into it. In fourth grade, that's kind of when it changed. And I actually took an expo marker and drew on my mirror in my bedroom, kind of the weather. I really thought weather was cool in fourth grade, fifth grade, and even into sixth grade. I want to say it was seventh, eighth high school that sports broadcasting became my focus. I watched sports all the time. We practically watched every Cardinal game. We always had ESPN on at our house. So that's when my focus changed to sports broadcasting. I feel like even going into my senior year of high school, it was, I'm going to go into sports broadcasting. And just throughout time, and I'm sure we'll get into my story. Buzz always liked me to tell my story at Discover Westerns. Even going into my freshman year of college, it wanted to be sports broadcasting. And for the people that don't know me very well, I don't like to move and be in a room with a lot of people. I want to be the person that stands out. And so when I saw all these people going into sports broadcasting, I was like, maybe I should try the news portion. And it has been very well to me. Never gone back, never, that practically changed. I believe it was my freshman year of college that, I didn't do sports broadcasting anymore. I wanted to go in and try it. But then that's when the news side, I saw all of that. And I was like, that's definitely more my speed. That's definitely more what I can do daily. And with the sports broadcasting, I felt like there were 500 kids that wanted to be in sports broadcasting, but you look at ESPN and there might be one or two new people every year. And so that to me became not as easy of a path. And so that's why I turned into news.
Well, we're very much alike in the fact that there's an easy road and a tough road. And for some reason, we usually select the tough road. We are like, okay, well, everybody else is going that way for some reason. We'll go this other way.
Yeah, I would agree 100%.
So you're in high school and I do want you to share because for the viewers and listeners that don't know, we would have Discover Westerns, and during that period of time, we'd have the parents and prospective students, and I would always ask Emily. As soon as I found out your story, I'm like, she's got to share this. So please do that for our listeners.
Let me see if I can still do it. It's been a while. It's been a couple of years, but so how this actually started is being from the Metro East is what we call it. 30 minutes from St. Louis. Mizzou is the school, right? Mizzou is two and a half hours from our house. And Mizzou is known for their journalism program, very well known for their journalism program. And so, in high school, I always knew that it was going to be communications of some point, broadcasting of some point, whether it be sports or possibly news. So pretty much Mizzou was set in my head, set in stone, the whole 9 yards. We went out and visited, saw what it was going to be, talked to people, was working out a roommate situation. And it was my senior year of high school. My aunt obviously knew you and knew what you did at Western. And she told my mom, she's my mom's older sister, and I think Emily should check out Western. I think Emily should check out their broadcasting program. It's really good. And so my mom comes to me and she's like, Em, we need to go check out this broadcasting program. And I was like, why? Mom, I've been to Macomb. Why? I'm already set to go to Mizzou. And she's like, well, Ginger said that they have a very hands-on program. You need to go look. I'm like, Mom, I'm not going. So it was Columbus Day, my senior year of high school. We didn't have that day of school. It was a Discover Western Day. And my mom signed me up. I did not speak to her the entire 3 hours from Highland to Macomb. I was so mad at her. And I was like, this is dumb. We're wasting your time. We're wasting my time. We spend the night, Sunday night at my aunt's in Macomb, wake up Monday morning and go to the Discover Western. During that Discover Western, I remember walking up on the floor. I remember going over to Western Hall, and you guys had a kind of station set up where we would put our headphones on, we'd have the microphone, and we were kind of calling a game. That's we got to see the sports truck. We got to mess with the cameras. And I hate to say it, but my mother was right. Driving home that day from Macomb, I was like, Mom, I think I want to go to school there. And the biggest difference was when I went to, I don't remember what Mizzou calls their Discover Western, but kind of an orientation type thing. When I went to that one, they didn't let me touch a camera. They said, this will be junior or senior year. You got to take all the classes first. And then junior and senior year is when you'll be touching the cameras. You'll be going out and doing stories. And, when you said, I can't remember if it was you exactly, but the teachers that were around, I remember, they were all like, no, this is like day one. Mm-hmm. And I just was like, you mean I get to touch a camera and carry a camera around my freshman year? Yep. And that was the changing point for me. Not that I was going to have to sit in a classroom for 2 years, because I'm more of a hands-on learner to begin with. And the biggest thing about this field that I didn't know at the time is it doesn't matter what you had grade-wise in your class. It matters so much more what you had to show why you're there for 4 years. And so I made the decision to go to Western and canceled Mizzou, did not go to Mizzou. I did have a friend that went to Mizzou and didn't have that hands-on experience at all. Not until she was an upperclassman. And even then didn't really get to go on camera, just got to kind of sit and watch. And sadly, when she graduated, there's 214 television markets, and 214 is the one that's really, really high. And that's where she was when she graduated. And I feel like Western, I walked away, and when I came back and taught at Western, I even told the students, like, I had a resume when I left Western. I was the promotions director at 88.3 The Dog. I had the newscast going for me. I was helping with Discover Western. I was helping with the students that were coming in. I peer mentor, I believe is the term. I had a resume leaving college. And then, of course, I had some internships that I was able to get in the summer. And it's because of what I had during the school year that got me those internships. So, yep, I was set to go to Mizzou, was set to be a Mizzou Tiger, and ended up being a Leatherneck instead. And it was all because of my mother. I give her credit to this day because I was so mad at her. But it was Columbus Day, my senior year of high school, that I made my decision and I changed it. And so grateful that I did.
Yeah, and you did when you came in as a freshman. I still have, just to let you know, I still keep a picture of you broadcasting, I think, a Macomb High girls volleyball game. Interesting enough, I also still have a picture of Adam and him broadcasting Macomb High football game as well. So, yeah, and you got involved right away, and you were again not afraid, not intimidated at all. And, I think that even though you didn't go through sports broadcasting, which is what we thought you were going to do, you found your way in news, you found your way at the radio station. And as you said, I immediately, there's something about you, Emily. Then I noticed that you are like a spinning tornado that takes people along for the ride, and people love it. You know what I mean? I saw that from like you said, your friend, was it Jay? What was her name?
Jayla.
Jayla. Okay. All your friends, they just wanted to be near you. And so it wasn't long before I knew that you should be one of our peer mentors, because you had that sort of pull with your peers.
Well, thank you. I loved my time at Western. I reminisce on it a lot because very grateful. And the coolest part is us group of friends. We're still very tight. Redrick Terry and I text daily. Sean Jameson and I text daily. Megan and I was in her wedding. She was in my wedding. We're vacationing together later this summer. John Benedict, I'm going to a Cubs game. I can't stand the Cubs, but I'm going because he's the organist and he's my friend and I love him. I feel like we have that really tight niche of a group that graduated, and they literally are my lifelong friends, and I got them at Western.
Yeah. And I was just talking with Danny Fry the other day.
Oh, I need to mention him, Danny Fry.
And Danny Fry said, there was something about the fact that you all got to work together, and then you got to just be social together. And I don't know if it's because you spent so much time up on the third floor of Salee Hall.
More time than my own bedroom at home, it felt like.
But you guys would continue to hang out together, which is just really a testament to the type of people that you were having these classes with.
Yeah, we're so grateful that we're still so close to this day. At my wedding in the fall, we took a Western picture. And the coolest part is, it's going in our wedding album book, but there's like 24 of us in that picture. And that is so cool to me that people came and people enjoyed. And it's like, yeah, these people were my life and they pretty much are still my lifelong friends, and Western made that happen somehow. Even though we would argue sometimes in that newsroom, we still loved to hang out with each other when we left Salee Hall.
Well, I think it was the iron sharpens iron concept that you all, even though you enjoyed each other's company, there's something about, having that competitive edge, that ability to make each other and push each other a little bit. Because I think one of my favorite stories is that, and I love this. I would tell this to people. I'm like, 1 year our sports football coaches show finished second in the state, and that riled you up. You weren't even part of that.
I got so excited. It had nothing to do with me.
And you were like, we are going to have a better program that's going to beat these other people. And you sure did. You delivered.
Yep. Danny, Redrick, and we brought home that first place because it was when we put that show together, Local Sports Focus.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, wait, I think we can do a little bit better here. So that's a good point of why I also loved Western. We kind of pitched this idea of, okay, we already have a show practically every day on that floor. Can you let us have one more? And, the faculty, just kind of said, if you want to, we'll be there. And that was huge. It wasn't like nobody gave us a hard time for wanting to spend more time up on the floor putting a show together. If anything, we got closer because of it. We all figured out how to get better, become better reporters or sports announcers because of it. And yeah, we put that show together for a whole year and it ended up being so much fun.
Yeah. So many of you all were all like, what can we do next?
I know.
What can we add? You're never satisfied, which is exactly what you want students to be. Yeah. You mentioned some of the faculty. Once you talk to me, tell me some of the people that were very important in terms of educating you.
Oh my. Well, two people stand out the most to me other than you, but Jasmine Crichton for sure.
Yeah.
I would say her and I butted heads on a couple of occasions, but there's no one more that I need to thank for the journalist and reporter that I am today. I didn't always necessarily agree with her. And if you talk to any of our friends that are in that group, they'd always say, oh, Emily's upset at Jasmine again. And it wasn't, she challenged me. And that's what I am so appreciative of. And then we also had Roger Sadler. Love Roger. Just somebody that also sat down and said, well, did you think about doing the story this way? Or did you think about writing it this way or using that word? Opening that other door and making me think harder really, really also made me a better journalist. There's things to this day that Roger taught me that when I'm writing my script daily, that I'm like, oh, Roger, like I think about that sort of stuff. I also had Sam Edsel. Love Sam Edsel to death. Sam Edsel, I believe he retired my senior year. Going into my senior year is when he retired. I was going to say, I had to think about that. Sam Edsel is one of a kind, one of the sweetest people you will ever meet, but somebody that was kind of like he didn't have any kids. And so he wanted to make us his kids, which I always thought was so cool. Very, very sweet. And then Mike Murray, he taught me my audio, I think it's audio 100, whatever the first class that we had to take when we were there. And I remember being in this class like Mike Murray, and he was, of course, my advisor, but somebody that my first weekend at Macomb, actually, I went to church. Of course, I can't remember the name. I think it's St. Paul, whatever the Catholic church is in town. I went. Yep. I went by myself on a Sunday, and Mike Murray was there with his family. And after that, I remember walking up and talking to him. And that was kind of like the connection that I had with Mike Murray. And just throughout then, that kind of made everything, I felt comfortable around him. I knew him. And so, the faculty, Sean and Gracia, can't forget about Sean. Sean was the guy behind Local Sports Focus. He was there for a little bit as well. He was there, I believe, my freshman, sophomore, junior year, maybe. I'm trying to remember. It's hard to remember. But the cool part was I felt like we had a really good faculty group. They all got along really well, and they all were trying to make sure that we got to learn the best that we could, or we got to have the experience that, that would help us in the future. And since everybody was in the broadcasting field at one point, they brought their experience, they brought their thoughts or what they learned and gave it to us, helping us. So, the faculty, I loved every single one of them. You didn't walk up on the floor and didn't think that you couldn't go sit in somebody's office. And thank goodness they all had couches in their office, because we always bombarded the faculty. And they definitely, you all, and I've told you this, you all made me feel home away from home. I never felt uncomfortable on the third floor of Salee. I always knew that if I was in a predicament or I was stuck or I was having a bad day, there was somebody on that third floor of Salee that was going to make sure that it was a better day, or that would help, or that would give some advice when needed. And that's so important when you're going away from home and you don't know anyone. So that's kind of what I remember from the faculty.
Now, we're going to try to get into what kind of stories, when you guys all got around together for your wedding, or when you went to Megan's wedding or whatever, what kind of stories do you share where you say what are your favorite? Can you share? Are there any?
I can share a couple of them.
Okay.
Election night 2016 is one that we laugh at to this day. Election night 2016 is actually, this is how cool. Dan White called me election 2020. So when the presidential election was 2 years ago, and he called me that morning, and I was at this job, and he goes, Miss Manley, I just want you to know that 4 years ago, we were about to pull off the show of a lifetime. I didn't answer his phone call. So this is the voicemail, and I have it saved on my phone because it was awesome. We pulled off the show of a lifetime. Somehow we managed to have 2 live shots, a chart on the green screen, you and Danny, he called him Danny Frey as a joke, Danny Fry at the desk, and we managed to make it work. Somehow we had enough stories, we had enough packages, and we pulled off the show of a lifetime. And he goes, I hope that your election night tonight goes just as smooth. I'm sorry you won't be hanging out with us. Love, Dan White. And to this day, I love that voicemail more than anything, because election night 2016 was pretty much like, I think, one of the coolest shows we've ever produced as a News 30 team. You know, for once we had 2 live shots in 2 total different places in Macomb. Danny and I were on the desk, and then we also had another student. I can't remember his name at the moment, but he was on the green screen, and we were talking about which states were coming in and if they were for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. And, you know, then after that, we went even live on our Facebook page because we just weren't done. And I have to remember that show altogether. I remember us hugging. I remember us yelling at each other. Like, I remember right before we went on show, something didn't work. And I turned to Dan White, who, when we were at Western, I called him my work husband. He called me his work wife. And just because him and I always came up with these ideas of, okay, what can we do now? What haven't we tried yet that we can do at News 3? And right before that show, I remember turning to him and yelling, I don't care what you have to do to make this work, but it will work. I remember just yelling. And we went on the air and everything worked. And so the 2016 election night, we definitely all talk about a lot. We also talk a lot about Good Morning Macomb writings, how we would be up in Salee Hall till 9 o'clock on a Thursday night. And just, you know, but that's how we all got to know each other so well. There were moments that, you know, Danny Fry to this day is like my brother. And there were moments I wanted to kill him, but there's moments that I love him even more. And I would say, I'm trying to think of any fun, you know, we've laughed at a lot of stuff, I would say. And it's hard to imagine where I would be today if I didn't go to Western, if I didn't have the group of friends from Western that I do.
Well, people still say that they would go over to your house. All these students would go over to your house to hang out. Yeah. On any night of the week, there'd be 5, 10 kids. We weren't kids. I guess we were kids, but young adults that came over to my house, 216 North Clay in Macomb. And I had the big basement, or we sit outside, and it was just what we were used to. We were always together, and it was so fun. I would say that there's a lot of funny memories at my house. Some that I definitely shouldn't share on here. But I would say that, and that's what I also loved. My house when I was a junior and senior was kind of the hangout house. I never knew who was going to show up from Salee Hall, but somebody was going to at night. And we would sit there and talk for hours, or we'd sit there and work on a project or two. And we would all just get together. Any night of the week, there was somebody at my house. And that's so cool to me. I've always thought how lucky I was to be able to have that and those friendships where people could just randomly show up at 216 North Clay. Some people even knew where the spare key was in case I wasn't home yet, but they wanted to get into my house. So no, definitely a lot of fun memories from college. So you leave WIU, you went right into it's a very highly respected and very beneficial program at UIS. And you got your master's degree. At the same time, you're driving back and forth from St. Louis, you maniac. And and doing that, which I don't know how you survived on just a few hours of sleep.
There was roughly about 9 months where even thinking back to it now, I'm like, how did I function off 2 hours of sleep? Where I was going to grad school, but right when I left Western, when I graduated from Western in 2017, it was like the week of graduation. I got a phone call I interned, I guess let's take it one step back before that. I interned the summer going into my senior year at Western at KMOB, which is the CBS affiliate in St. Louis, 20 minutes from my house. It was an awesome internship, and interned there, had a great time, left thinking I'm going to go back. And it was my senior year. We had went and visited as an NBS group. We took like weekend trips or whatever, and we went to KMOB. And one of the managers said, "What are you doing now?" And I was like, "Well, I'm graduating in 2 weeks, but then I'm starting school again in August." And he's like, "Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations, move on." About a month after that, the week of graduation, he called me, and I was so caught off guard on this phone call. I saw that it was a St. Louis number, and with my family living in St. Louis, you never know. So I answered it. And the gentleman on the other end, Bill McCormick, he said, "I have an offer to give you, and we think you'd be perfect." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, we're short an assignment desk editor this summer. Is there any way you could cover the weekends and maybe a Friday? That would help us huge. And I said, I'm ecstatic that you asked me. I'm more than happy, but I start school in August. And his answer was, "That's no big deal. You will get us through the summer. You'll be able to fill in, you will help us in our months where people are on vacation." I was like, "Great. As long as come August, we are in good shape. Sounds great." August comes around, I start school. I'm about ready to put in my 2 weeks. And they go, "What if we just leave it to weekends? You just working Saturdays and Sundays." I would start at 4 a.m. and I think I started at 5, ended at 3, both Saturdays and Sundays. And it was good money. And I was like, sure, Saturdays and Sundays, what else am I going to do with my life, right? As a 21-year-old, not like there's anything else fun to do. And so I ended up working going into the Christmas season. So that was August to November. I would go to school Monday through Thursday, I think, and then ended up working weekends, which didn't sound so bad. I guess it was going into November. Now that I'm thinking about it, they had a person quit and they were like, "Can you fill in?" And I go, "What days am I filling in?" They go, "Actually, it's the morning show." I go, "What?" They're like, "We need a producer. We need somebody to work from about 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And I'm going to go to school during the day in Springfield." And I was like, "Okay." And they're like, "We need you on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then you can keep your Saturdays and Sunday shifts." I'm like, "Okay." And my thing is, this is that resume builder. It's going to stink. It's not going to be fun, but this is something that I'm going to be able to say, "Look at what I did."
Yeah.
So I started doing it. I would work on Sundays till 3, come home and sleep a little bit, go back to the station at 11 p.m., work until about 7 a.m., come home, shower, drive to Springfield, go to class all day, come back to St. Louis. And it was just like a revolving door. After Christmas, they had another person quit. And in this business, they're just hopping to another station. It's not a normal for people to leave in this business. Sure. And they were like, "Okay, now we need you to fill in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Saturday, Sunday still." And I'm like, why would I say no to this? This station has been my dream. This is the 21 market out of 214. Why would I say no? And so I did. And at this point, I was also reporting during the day in Springfield. So I would report during the day, get done about 7, drive the hour-ish to my mom's house, sleep on the couch from like 9 to midnight, go in at midnight and work till 7 a.m., come home, shower, and do it all over again. And we're looking back now, it's like, oh my gosh. And I have some notes on my phone that I have left over the years. And there was one week I worked 78 hours. And next week I worked 72 hours. And you look at it and you laugh, right? Like, oh my gosh. But I did that until July of 2018. And looking back now, I'm like, oh my Lord, how did I do that? But my mom made me text her everywhere. The moment I got to Springfield, I texted her. The moment I would talk to a lot of people on the phone too, because you're tired, you're driving, and knock on wood, I never had any issues. No, I mean, very lucky about that. And I did that for like 9 months or something. And then finally I got my master's and it was time for me to go find my reporting job. And that's when I got one in that August of 2018. So no, that was like not a crazy 9 months. And I definitely couldn't have done that without people understanding and supporting me, because that was an insane time.
And all this time, and even though you and I think we kept in contact in some ways at different times, I did not know, and this is how, because it's just who I am, I did not know that you and Adam, tell me about the story of you and Adam, because I need to know this, because he's one of our graduates too. And I'm very, very happy for all this. How did you guys get together or meet or whatever?
So first day, we both can remember the first day of freshman year. We met at Tanner Hall. You had us move in. The broadcasting students moved in the day before because we carried around those little camcorders the next day on move-in day, and we had to put a story together. I remember that. Well, on that first day, this is funny. I look at it now and laugh. We were sitting in Tanner's circle, and I can see to this day, I know exactly where he sat. He says he remembers me, but I know exactly where he sat. I'm like, oh, he's really cute. And at that point, I had a boyfriend that helped me move in that weekend. And he was like, you can't be friends with him, because he saw me looking at him or whatever. Yeah. I'm actually still friends with that boyfriend, and he thinks it's so funny. We still talk about it to this day. And so I saw Adam that first day. Then the actual move-in day, where we had to walk around with those camcorders. We weren't on the same team. You guys put us on teams, but that night, move-in day night, they had like a Rocky-thon or whatever out on Hanson Field.
Right.
But my group, I was not stuck with good group members, and Adam wasn't stuck with good group members. And Tyler Eddy and Amy Coyle, Amy, what's Amy's last name? Did I say that right? Remember Amy
Keller?
Amy Keller. Was she the same age as Tyler?
Yeah.
Okay. Amy Coyle's from high school. Sorry, wrong Amy. They offered to help any of us that needed help. And so we walked into, it was the men's side of Tanner, and the only two students that were in that room with Tyler and Amy were Adam and I. We both also remember that. Adam was in his Nike slides, I can tell you that, and he was in a black sweatshirt and a backwards hat. And so we knew each other the first day. The next day, or the first day of school, you had pizza in the lounge for all of us students to meet the faculty. And Adam and I were also the only two students that showed up right when it started. And we ended up walking back from Salee to Tanner together, and we ended up talking. I told him I had a boyfriend. He was seeing this girl, whatever. We never, ever had a class together the whole time at Western. I always thought he was cute. His roommate, Sergio, tells me to this day that on Adam's whiteboard freshman year, it said, get Emily Manley's number. He never got it. I never gave my phone number to Adam. Fast forward junior year, I had a house and started inviting all the broadcasting students over. I invited Adam. I still thought he was really cute. I was broken up with that boyfriend at that time. Adam was single at that time, and junior year is kind of just, I think we were texting and we were both like, well, I think you're cute. Well, I think you're cute. I think you were cute since freshman year. Just weird, and ended up hanging out end of junior year a little bit. Throughout that summer, he came down to a couple Cardinals games with my family, and just kind of went on from there. I don't really. Wow. Freshman year, we remember the first couple of days together, but then never really spoke after that. Adam went and played on the baseball team at Western, so I never saw him. We never ran in the same group of people. But then when I got my house junior year and I started inviting everybody over, it's when he started coming back, and we just kind of started hanging out then. And all of our friends junior year, like Megan and Danny, they all made fun of us. They're like, are you two dating? And we both were, but we didn't tell anybody. So we were like, no. And then they'd be like, aren't you dating? And I'd be like, no, but we really were. I mean, we've been together 6 years now, but we lied about it. I don't know why we did. It's not like Adam was involved with the Courier. I was involved with News 3. We weren't ever working together, but yeah, that's kind of happened freshman year, the first day of school. We can remember each other, and now we're married.
Now we know the story. Now I know the story. Maybe everybody else does, but now I know the story. So you after you got your master's degree, you got your first job as a reporter. You're down in Southern Illinois working, and we're gonna fast forward to that, because I want to talk a little bit about, I called you up in desperate need somebody to come teach news.
Yeah,
And
that, like I said, the good Lord, wow, like in a matter of 24 hours, it was crazy. My station down in Southern Illinois had gotten bought out, and they were going through this turnover where they were firing or letting go people that had been there for a long time. I obviously was not one of them, but I didn't like the way things were headed. I didn't know what to do. And you, ironically, Pat, either you texted me or called me. I don't remember either one. And you're like, hey, I'm looking for a teacher to fill Jasmine Crichton's role. We're obviously, I think you called me in the end of July or beginning of August. So I didn't have much time to make a decision because school started like 2 weeks later. And you were like, I'm looking for this job. Is there anybody you graduated grad school with? And I'm thinking, and I was like, no, I can't, but I'll let you know, I think. And I remember hanging up the phone, but then I remember talking to you the next day and being like, I have an idea. What if it was me?
mm-hmm.
And I don't know your response, but my response, I remember being like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Well, my response, well, everybody that you ever were around WIU, Macomb wise, they all were selling, they couldn't handle the fact that you were coming back. They were so happy that we were going to have you. And so I knew in my heart, I knew that it was just going to be a brief period of time. But then part of you hopes is like, please, let her really love this. And so she can't leave. But
I truly did love it. And I went into your office when I got this offer. And the job that I have now, knock on wood, once again, I'm really lucky. I didn't apply for this job. Someone that I worked with at KMOV had moved over to the competition because the station I work for now in St. Louis is competition to KMOV. And he messaged me on Facebook and was like, hey, I threw your name in. Are you looking for a job? Well, you already threw my name in. And he was like, they're starting a political bureau reporter position in Jefferson City at the State House. And he goes, I know that when you were at KMOV and I was there, that's what you were getting your master's in. And I was like, yeah, I was. And he's like, are you looking for a job? And I was like, because this was like in March, right? Literally like a week before the pandemic. And I was like, well, I'm pretty content where I'm at the moment. I'm teaching. I can't go nowhere till the end of May. And I don't know if I want to. And he's like, I think you need to hear our boss out. So I said, okay. So I had a conversation, and like I said, I never applied for this position. It just all kind of fell together, and it's crazy how it all kind of worked out. But I will tell you, because of Western, I never considered going to teach college. When I got my master's degree, that was never the reason why I got my master's degree. And after I finish reporting, Adam knows, my mom knows that I am so considering going back and teaching college. Okay. It was so cool. It was
Students
amazing.
Loved you. And, and not only that, you're a great mentor, you're a great role model. And you have things that you need and want to share with people, and they appreciate that. They just become like sponges around you.
Well, thank you. I loved teaching them. It was so cool to be like, all right, we're not going to hold a textbook in our hand because a textbook is not going to help you. I'm going to tell you what the past 8 months of being a reporter has been like, and the importance of social media and what you got to be careful about. And I loved every minute of it. I was so bummed and sad when COVID hit. Yeah. I was so we had the banquet planned and ready to go. We had, I had students excited about a banquet because when I was in school, and the banquet was what you could not wait for. Yeah. And then we had COVID, and it was so sad that, that was kind of the end of me seeing the students. And I really enjoyed it. And I will say, the opportunity you gave me and offered me, and the good Lord opening the right door at the right time, I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity, because I do see myself in the future going back to helping students and teaching students in college. about this field and about this industry. And that's
Well,
because of you.
well, I truly believe this, you can do anything. You can do anything. So let's talk a little bit about your current job. What's the real joy? What do you love about doing this?
Let me think. So I just actually, I'll give you a kind of long story short here. Lawmakers in Missouri work from January to May. And they work crazy hours from January to May. The rest of the year, though, they might show up for a special session. They might not. It depends. So like right now, I am following the governor more than anything. Lawmakers are out and I don't really cover too much legislation now. I mean, we're in the month of June. So I had the rest of May to put together stories of legislation that they passed. And now for the next couple of months, it's covering regional stories. I travel a lot to Springfield and St. Louis and Kansas City to cover stories in those areas. But the lawmakers and politics are my life. I was on vacation for the past week and I would get up every morning and scour Twitter. Like I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it, but I did it anyway. And politics is, and the best way I explain this to my boss is the last couple of weeks of session, I was working 65-hour weeks. Well, lawmakers work overnight sometimes. One point this session, they went 36 straight hours. And that's my job. That is, for the other parts of the month, I'm covering politics. But for those 6 months that they are here, that's what I am known for. That's what it's supposed to be my breath. I'm breathing in politics. I'm breathing out politics. And you might think, why does she like politics? I get that a lot. It's a drug. I swear. I have this where, I might have worked 60 hours that one week, but I cannot wait to go back on Monday. I truly do love my job. I love it a lot. And it's also sometimes stressful that I'm by myself, right? That I am my own cameraman, I'm my own editor, I'm my own reporter, and it's just me. But I also find that really easy in the sense of when I go out and shoot a story, I know what I shot. I know where that clip is. I know that interview that I did. And I do also really enjoy that. I also kind of make my own schedule. So that's super great too, where, sometime like tomorrow, for example, on Friday, I have to be at Lake of the Ozarks to cover the governor. That doesn't start until 11:30. Well, that doesn't mean I need to be at the station at 9 like other reporters, because there's no station for me out here. It's my house or my tiny office in the Capitol. I have a office that's quite small, but that's where I do a lot of my live shots. There's a camera in the wall. I flip my HD lights on. I change the background on my TV and go live. And, politics, that is my number one, but we kind of go down from there. Memorial Day weekend, obviously a huge weekend at Lake of the Ozarks. And I'm the closest. Lake of the Ozarks is only 20 minutes from me, 25 minutes, but our cities, St. Louis and Kansas City, have lots of people that travel to Lake of the Ozarks to visit. So I was on the Lake of the Ozarks story. Today I'm working on some supply chain issue stories. And, it's just kind of in the summertime, I'm definitely more of a general assignment reporter, which means I'm going out and finding my own stories, but I always fall back on politics. And the nicest part, I will be honest about this, because I know my family is going to watch this. I'm so glad they don't live in the state of Missouri, because they can't complain about the politics I report on. They live in Illinois. I say that all the time.
So and I know that you're on a time constraint today as well, because you're going to have to do a live shot, right?
Yep. Normally there's about 4 live shots I have to do since I work for so many stations. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the last thing we like to finish with, Emily, is what kind of advice do you have to a young person? If you could go back in time and say to a young Emily, make sure to do this, make sure to do that.
I would say, well, if I could go back to a young Emily, I would say, don't be mad at your mom that she made you go to Western on a Discover Western Day. But I would say that just because you might want to go to the biggest school. You might want to go to the school that all your friends are going to, because that's what Mizzou was. All my friends were going to Mizzou, and yeah, they were known for journalism. You also have to remember that those schools, they have so many kids. How does everybody get a hand on a camera, right? I would go back and say, sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And, I'm trying to think of how to say this without my mom getting mad at me when she watches this, because grades are important, yes. But there were days that I would miss a class. Obviously, Roger knew, Jasmine knew, because I was going to cover a story. Mm-hmm. And I would say that I didn't graduate college with the GPA that I graduated high school with. Not that it was a big difference by far, not that I was failing in any sort of way, but it was so much more important to walk away with that resume, that piece of story that I had, than getting a B or an A on the quiz that I got that day. And when you find those places, you have those teachers that understand. And yeah, I might have missed a quiz from Roger, but Roger knew what I was doing. And so Roger was going to do his best to make sure that I could make up those points. And so finding that group, even when you're not close to home, is so incredibly important. And making sure that you give it your all. Yeah, there's going to be times where it's tough. Yeah, there's going to be times you're upset, angry, whatever it may be. But it's worth it in the end. When I worked those crazy hours for 9 months, there were times that I wanted to sleep and just not go to work that day. But I just kept telling myself, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. Yeah. And my other thing, if we have any undergraduates that watch this podcast, do whatever you can. Get your hands on whatever you can. I told my students when I was teaching at Western, I couldn't say that enough. I knew that radio was never really what I wanted to go into, but I also was getting a business and marketing undergrad or minor at that time. And so I saw that there was a chance to do marketing at the radio station right there in Salee. So why not use that to my advantage for my marketing degree? There are so many opportunities and so many things that you can get involved with, and just make sure that you don't pass up on them, because they really do pay off. And there's a lot of people that are willing to help you. And don't be afraid to jump in. Don't be afraid to cover city council for your first time, because then you'll get stuck doing it for 3 more years. And, don't be afraid. It sounds scary at first. And there are times that you're not sure if it's right for you, but how do you know if you don't try? That was a really long advice.
That's all right. I when you mention your family watching this, I think there will be as many people in Macomb that will be not just your family members. I'm talking about Mayor Mike Inman and Darcy Schinberger and everybody else.
I love them all. And since they're going to be watching, I can't say thank you enough that those of you that are watching that gave me the time of day to help me get where I am, to help me know that it's okay to question people and to be a reporter, because of them, I'm more comfortable in my skin today. And I truly enjoy what I do. So thank you.
Well, thanks for being on the podcast, Emily. And I'm excited, and of course, I'm very proud of you, but I'm excited about where the next chapter will be for you.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. I wish I knew, but I don't at the moment. So.
Well, give my best to Adam and of course, your mom as well, and the whole family.
Of course. Thank you so much, Buzz, for asking me to do this. I enjoyed watching it. So I've always enjoyed listening to them. So now I guess I'll listen to this one too.
And thanks to all of our weekly viewers out there. We hope that you continue to watch and listen to this podcast, and really appreciate everyone's support. Just to let you know, this is the last podcast that I will be involved with as a host. So I just want to say thank you all for listening and paying attention during this period of time. But until the next time we meet, stay safe, take care, and God bless.